In this video, we'll be talking with Brock, who's a student in my complete publishing program, and discussing exactly how he made over $36,000 in a single month. Now, we share a lot of tips and strategies in this interview, so make sure to take notes. And this is actually part of a student success interview series that I do as a bonus in my paid publishing program. We have over 20 of these interviews, and we're constantly adding more. So if you guys want to check it out and perhaps join the best publishing community in the entire planet, then check out the first link in the description below. And with that being said, enjoy the video. All right, guys, welcome back to another Publishing Success case study interview. Today, we're talking to Brock. Brock has been publishing for a couple years now, and he's made over $36,000 in a single month. So today, we're going to talk to him, hear his story, how he got into publishing, and see what we can learn from his strategies. So, Brock, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, man. Thanks for having me, and happy to help.
Yeah, good to have you here. Good to get into the story. So I guess we can start with like how you discovered publishing initially. Can you get into a little bit of that?
Yeah, man. So it's a pretty funny story. I was in my last year of high school, and ever since I was about 14, 15, I was always looking for strategies and ways to make money online, because that's what I wanted to do. And my brother actually hit me up after listening to a podcast, and he said to me, bro, there's this course that I found through Adrian Ingram. And basically he just said to me, there's an Aussie guy that's publishing books on Amazon. He's doing really well. You should give this course a shot. And it was like $200 or something. And I thought, okay, let's do it. But at the time, man, I was actually doing my exams. So I was studying for my last year exams. And yeah, I bought the course anyway and just started doing the course. And yeah, that's basically how I got into it, man.
Yeah, so Jake was publishing first and then you got into it later.
No, Jake was actually making money from drop shipping first. And then he listened to this podcast and told me to give Amazon KDP a shot. And he goes, dude, give this a try. If it works out, we'll get into it. So I started first.
Yeah, it's so funny, man, because Adrian, I used to watch him as well when I first started on YouTube. And Jake, your brother, right, obviously, told me about Chiang Mai later on, about it being like a really good digital nomad base. I go to Chiang Mai, it's amazing, but also I meet Adrian there, he's living there, and now it's like everyone's being connected, through KDP. So it's like it's funny how that works, but
Crazy,
um,
man.
yeah. So you started publishing back in uni. Your background, did you have any other business experience, or was this like your first business?
Nah, man. So I was 17, last year of high school, just wanted to make money online, had no experience inside business. And yeah, basically just went from there, started from there.
Gotcha. So how did it start? Like how was your, first couple
So
books?
I basically finished up my exams in the end. I'd finished the course, but hadn't created the book yet. And then I had my levers, which is like the party weekend that you have after finishing high school. Came back from there and gave it a shot. So I invested in my first book in the end of 2016. Had it all written, had it all done, published it. Nothing happened, and I didn't make any money. And I thought, well, like I need money. I was very young at the time. I had no money in the bank. So yeah, I was pretty down about it because my first book failed. And I thought, okay, let me get a full-time job. I got a full-time job doing sales. And I did that for about 9 months and absolutely hated it. Honestly, just couldn't think of anything worse. I couldn't believe that, this was the life that people accept, you know what I mean? And yeah, I thought, nah, I can't do this anymore. I left the job. Obviously it's a longer story than that, but I won't, take up too much time with it. But yeah, at the end of the day, hated it. I quit. They were really honestly about to fire me anyway. And then I went back to that original book that I published, and I just got reviews on it this time. Stupid me as a young kid, published this book and didn't get reviews on it. And so I went back to the original book that I published, got reviews on it, and this was at the end of 2017. And yeah, I made $500, and I was like, you're kidding. And then the next month after that, it was like 5 grand, man, from this one book.
Are you
And
serious?
that, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's when I just kept going, bro, and published a lot more books since then.
Wow. So your first book was a flop. You waited a year and then you just got more reviews and it just exploded from there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. Then. So you kept going, like, did you just shotgun a bunch of different books after that, or like how often were you publishing and what was your strategy back then?
Oh man, it was very bad. Basically, my first book was a an adult content themed book.
Okay.
And so yeah, I put that up and then it went crazy. And then obviously I started making like other books around that niche. And I had two other books that did really well as well inside the niche. And I basically had some other books that I was shotgunning. And all in all, just kind of started shotgunning other like niched books, other different audience type books, in the nonfiction, obviously. And then it was a roller coaster journey, man. Like one, there was a couple months where I made 10K and then it would just drop down to like 500 a grand. Because what ended up happening is because I was in that niche, I believe Amazon like didn't like it because it was an adult themed book. And so you can't run ads and a bunch of stuff happened. So basically, I don't mess with that niche anymore. And not long after that, man, the audiobook scene came. And I went all in on the audiobooks, like the long form, 3 hour long audiobooks in just all sorts of niches. So again, shotgunning
Mm. How did that go?
really well. Very well. However, still kind of a roller coaster ride, man. You know, good months, bad months. Um, and then obviously now for Australians is a bit harder for us to publish on Audible. So that was something that kind of messed up that approach, and I don't do that anymore.
Mm. So basically, you're trend chasing, right? Like the first niche was a good niche, not really a trend, but like a hot niche. But then you're
Yeah,
still shotgunning, and then the audiobook trend came in, and you took advantage of it, which there's nothing wrong. But then that trend kind of sailed, right? Do you think
it
audiobooks is
was.
good now, or what do you think?
Yeah, 100%, man. I think it's definitely a good option, but for us Australians, like we can't publish on Audible at this point in time. So, you know, I can't really go down that path, which sucks. I know there's other options. However, in my brand that I currently run, it's low to medium type content books. So I can't they don't fit Audible anyway. So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
yeah, it makes sense. What made you go like switch into low and medium content starting from high content? Because usually people do the opposite, right? They start low and medium content and then they go into high content.
Um, I think I think because I hadn't done it yet, man, to be honest with you, I was always in the high content. And for me personally, I found lower content and medium content easier because um it's more visual and there's less words. So it's less work on my end.
Mm,
In terms of me actually reading, for especially in the beginning when I did start this brand and I did start that approach, I wasn't outsourcing things like editing and proofreading and whatnot. So obviously, if it's a shorter book and whatnot, it makes my job easier. I can get it done quicker. So that was one reason. Um, but yeah, it was just the brand that I found, man. I picked a brand, I picked a niche, and it kind of formed into books that were more related around lower to medium type content.
mm. And so you're building a brand in that space. How is it going for you so far? Like what kind of numbers are you hitting right now?
So I'll be doing anywhere between like 4 to 6K per month. However, I have really good Q4s. So, my Novembers and my December especially is very good because of, the nature of the type of books I publish. And yeah, so that obviously makes it a little bit more if we do a 12-month average.
Yeah, for sure. Like Q4 basically makes up for like all the other slow months, right?
Yeah,
So
bro.
if
It did make up like half of my income,
yeah, yeah,
Q4,
yeah.
you know.
So like if you're hitting 4 to 6K on a slow month, then you're probably averaging like what is that, 7 or 8 or
Yeah,
more?
bro. Around there, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
But that's not including all the expenses I have outside of ads. I have an assistant. I'm trying to build a YouTube channel inside the brand. Obviously book costs. I'm currently like working on 10 books at the moment. So, these things add up as well.
For sure, for sure. Well, that's part of business, don't you think? Like with
Exactly.
publishing, it's a one-time cost to produce these books. You finish producing it, and like if you ever want to, like if you're happy with how much you're making, you stop producing these books. It's fairly maintainable as long as the books are good and it doesn't die, right?
Yeah,
'Cause negative reviews. You just only you're only like reinvesting it because you want to grow that number, basically.
pretty much, man. Yeah. It's if I sat back and did nothing, it would be pretty consistent and it would
Yeah.
kind of stay around that area for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah.
What you said about YouTube is interesting though. So like very few people actually build a social media, especially a YouTube channel, for their brand. So like what's your
Yeah.
strategy on that? Like have you seen your competitors do it and do well and that's why you decided to go into it? Or like how did you even get the idea?
So I actually didn't see any of my competitors in terms of like the book space do it. I just saw other companies do it for YouTube. And I thought, okay, this would probably be a good way for me to be able to, drive traffic to my books. However, I'm still in the beginning phase of, this and, working out how I'm going to monetize it properly. I haven't really reached that stage yet of monetization, but I've got around 13K subscribers on the channel and I'm basically just smashing the reels,
Yeah.
the short form reels. So I can't add links to those videos, which sucks. Um, but yeah, I'm looking at ways in order to be able to like drive this traffic to my books eventually. At the moment, I'm just building up the audience.
What are your average views per video?
Man, it ranges so highly. Some of my like shorts have had 2 mil to 1 mil views, and then other ones will do like 200 views. It's like a massive change. So I would say around maybe an average of 5 to 10,000 or something.
Yeah. And so in terms of like, link, do you link it directly to your book or do you pitch the book or do you get them into an email list first and then pitch the book from there?
So it's basically I'm just building the audience at the moment. So it's just videos that are targeted at around the niche itself, not actually the books. I have some videos that are related to the books or like an exercise from my book, for example.
Yep.
But apart from that, I still haven't I'm in the process of basically monetizing and figuring out a strategy on how I can get this traffic to start buying the books.
Interesting, man. I feel like just a simple call to action would get a few of those people, at least like click over to Amazon. Since shorts you can't link directly, you can just have a call to action at the end of the video, like, hey, if you want to dive deeper, I got a book, check it out on
Yeah.
Amazon. And then like it's actually good if people type it in the search bar because like you rank a lot better, right? Instead of like a link purchase, because
Yeah.
it's considered like organic search. And you can obviously link it in your bio too, like a YouTube bio.
Yeah, I've got it in there. I think it has drove a little bit of sales from that, to be honest with you. But yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. I mean, to be honest, mate, it's probably something we need to speak about on a call and how I can properly monetize this and start getting sales from it. Because that's the next step for me inside this brand.
Yeah, man. Happy to help. We'll talk after this interview. But so are you repurposing those shorts to Instagram and TikTok as well?
Yeah, man, they're on everything. However, I haven't succeeded on any of the other ones. For some reason, it's only the YouTube shorts that are just doing really well for me. Everything else is very bad.
Like really bad, like
Yeah, bro,
couple
really
hundred
bad.
views.
It just doesn't make sense, man.
Yeah,
I still don't know.
that's
But
really,
yeah,
really interesting because usually it's like the TikTok that does well,
I
right?
know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like Coco Real, you know that brand?
No.
So Coco Real is probably the biggest coloring book brand right now. And it's a
Okay.
team of, I think it's like a Vietnamese team, but also do the shorts, and then they repurpose everywhere like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and also even Pinterest as well. And they might even do
Hmm.
other platform. But for them too, it's interesting because they do well on all platforms, but on YouTube, they're just blowing up. They got like 2 million subscribers. Every single video is like 100K plus, you know?
Wow.
So it just depends, I guess, in regarding, in terms of like which platform does well or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't have an answer as to why it's just YouTube for me. Because even people in my niche are doing really well on TikTok or they're doing really well on Instagram, and we do similar content. Still haven't
Mm,
figured out that part yet. But in saying that, man, like I've always had, I mean, later on in my journey, I've realized that the most important thing is the books themselves. Anything outside of that is just, a kind of a side venture, something that I don't really, have all my focus on. You know what I mean?
yeah, we can transition into that because that's a good segue. So, what do you think is like the most important things to master in publishing if you want success? People will hear this interview and they're like, "Oh, maybe I should do YouTube," right? Is that the case, or are there more important things that they should focus first?
I think it depends where they're at in their journey, but I'm assuming there's mainly beginners watching. So, if you're a beginner, I would just be focusing in on the books specifically. I wouldn't be worrying about anything outside of the books apart from maybe an email list. Because this is the main juice of everything in terms of like what's actually going to make you money. So just focusing on that. And then the next thing I would say is eventually dive into a certain audience and just focus on that audience.
Yeah. When you say focus on the books, like specifically, are you talking about like the covers, titles, right? Just basically the quality.
So in terms of that, going in deeper, um, there's three things that are the most important: cover, reviews, um, and obviously quality of the book.
Mm.
Um, and then, if you tick off those three boxes, your book is going to like all it is about standing out against your competition. If you look at your book, or even just give your book to a friend or someone you know and have them look at the other covers that you're competing with, if they don't say your cover's better than the others on the page, well, then you need to better your cover. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
obviously with reviews, that's going to be something that you want to try your best to beat them in. Sometimes you can't, and it's not that important, but you at least want minimum 20. And then if you want lasting profits and you don't want your book to die, then the next step that's important is quality, right?
Yeah. The interior quality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100% agree. So, it's really good that you mentioned this because most of my viewers are doing low content, medium content, right? Maybe inside my course, most people are doing high content just because we teach mainly higher content, medium content, or high content, right? Because I think that's the best. But most YouTube viewers are doing low content because, or low, like, coloring books type medium content just because it's easy and it's cheap or free to do.
Yeah.
But the way you approach low content and medium content, um, do you do everything yourself or do you have a team that you pay for book covers and, interiors, and how does it look operational wise?
So in terms of like, I'm doing mainly mid content, but my mid content books aren't easy to make, man. I could not make them myself. They require illustrations and quite a lot of thought and things like that. So I have a team that basically, you know, creates the book still. I do nothing myself. To be honest with you, I've never really have done anything myself apart from maybe proofreading and editing. And then obviously creating titles and finding the keyword. But yeah, I'll have, a person for the writing, I'll have a person for the illustration, I'll have a person for the graphic design. Sometimes I'll have someone even come through and do some creative writing and add in an extra 1,000 or 2,000 words to make it a little bit better in terms of the content. But yeah, a whole team for everything.
Do you hire them mainly on Fiverr or Upwork?
Yeah. So I mainly have most of my team running through Upwork and then a few through Fiverr. I have found one really good assistant of mine is from Workana, which I found quite a while ago. She does a lot of work for me. And then, yeah, strangely enough, my assistant who runs a lot of my business now,
Yeah.
she was actually my Spanish teacher. So
Yeah.
I was on calls with her for 2 years, man, like almost every day learning Spanish. And she's from Argentina. Because I trust her a lot, I eventually had her come in and be my basically my virtual assistant to automate the business.
Nice, man. That's awesome. Workana has worked out well for me too.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, yeah. I've tried it a couple times. I should actually use it more. I don't know why I stopped. Um, I think like it works on Upwork as well. Like it doesn't matter too much. You can find good talents, but on Workana too, I found some good ones
I think onlinejobs.ph and Workana are two pretty good ones outside of those main, Fivers and Upwork
for sure.
sites. I
For sure.
believe that they're cheaper as well
I think
than
so too,
Upwork.
slightly. Yeah, especially like if you hire people on a per task basis, or like, if you hire someone, let's say on Fiverr, and then you're just paying per task, it's a lot more expensive than if you just hire a full-time VA on online jobs and just train them up and everything, like, and pay them like per hour, $4 or $5,
Yeah.
right? It's like it's way more value, but it takes more time, obviously, because you got to train them and stuff, right?
Yeah, man. The training
Yeah.
takes a while.
So like what do you suggest for those who are getting into low and medium content, that are and they're low on budget, right? So what do you think would be the first hire that they should make? Is there any non-negotiables? Like even though you're low on budget, you should like at least hire out the book cover design if you're not a designer. Like, do you have any tips on that?
Low money. I think your book cover design needs to be the thing that you spend the most money on. Um, and then after that, what I would do is I would use AI in every single possible way that I could in order to create a good book, as long as it works. So in terms of the writing, you can easily get that done. Just make sure that, I mean, it's up to you what you want to do, but I would make sure it's not AI detectable, and I would reword it and, do your own touches on it. And then, yeah, I haven't looked into it yet, but I know that there's AI softwares out there that can come up with pretty good illustrations, or pretty good designs if you need designs inside that book. So I would just be using AI and getting really good at that skill, because that's really the only way that you're going to be able to get your costs down to be able to make these books yourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think AI is getting better slowly, like not as
Mm,
fast as we all thought, because like back in when AI first came out, right? We thought, when GPT-4 came out, like I remember Alex Hormozy making an Instagram post saying GPT-4 is going to be able to write like 50K words, with one click. And
yeah,
obviously, like technically, yeah, you can make him do it, but it's going to suck. So same
yeah.
as illustrations. I think it's getting better, but still a lot of work to edit it out. And I think actual custom illustration is significantly better. Um, how much, as a reference, like how much do you pay per illustrations? And is it like a more kids friendly basic illustration, or is it more detailed? If you can
It
share.
depends on the book, man. I do both, but it'll be anywhere between like $2 to $5 per illustration.
Yeah.
And it really depends on just the complexity of the book. Some of these books that I get into are quite complex. And they're usually niches people look at and they don't want to touch it because it's that complex. And I guess that's a something to take note. If there's that niche out there that you think, oh, it's a little bit too difficult, or this is going to be pretty hard to make, or whatever the excuse is that comes in your head, you need to remember that your competition are saying the exact same thing, and usually there is money to be made there.
Yeah, it's a super good tip. It's basically I say that all the time. Like if something's hard to do, it's actually good, so you can stand out. Not a lot of people are willing to do that. Um, what are your like, do you have any strategies that you did that not a lot of people talk about that really boosted your income, that you're willing to share? Any tips and tricks for those just getting started?
Strategies. Um,
You had a big Q4, that's why, like maybe something around there.
yeah. Well, yeah, I'll rattle off. I'll rattle off what I can, man. I mean, first thing I would say is focus on one audience, build a brand, and go hard on that audience. Stop looking at KDP as a way to make money and start actually looking at it as a business, something that you can grow, something that you can sell, something that you're actually proud of in terms of the quality of your books, because obviously it's going to last over a long period of time. Um, and then, yeah, in terms of Q4, I mean, we can go into that and how I'm able to optimize there. But another thing that I would say is don't be scared to lose money with ads for the first month, 2, 3 months. Like it's super important to get your book ranked. And you aren't going to be able to do that in these complex, hard niches if you're not able or willing to lose some money in the beginning. You have to, if you want to make money and you want to make a lot of money inside KDP, you need to start taking more risks and putting more money on the table, in my opinion, in terms of ads. You're going to get it back anyway. But yeah, making moves then is pretty important. Now, in terms of Q4, there's so many more customers on Amazon during November and December. So ideally, you want to be able to rank your book and have it at least on the first page at minimum. And if you don't do that, you're missing out on way too much money. So the strategy is being able to do that. And you do that by obviously boosting the ranking. So I would lower your price in like October, November. I would go really hard on ads in October and November. Um, I would update your covers. I would get A+ content organized. I'd make sure it covers the best of the best on there because during Q4, these are gifts. You know what I mean? And people are going to pick the book that looks the best
Yeah.
because it's a gift. It's a gift to someone. They don't want to give them some, crappy looking book. It's a really good, creative cover. That's going to help you a lot, especially during Q4. Um, so yeah, there are a couple of things that I would say in terms of that.
So you go hard on ads in October, November. Do you slow down in December, or do you continue to go hard until December 25th, essentially, or 24th?
Yeah, I continue to go hard, but I think people take it too slow before December is what I kind of want to say with that.
What is So the first couple months you shouldn't be looking at, like profiting from the ads, which I agree. What is your like timeline on, around how many months, like maybe month 4, I want to be profiting, or do you have something like that?
Yeah, I would say by month 4 to 5, if I'm not profiting, um, I'm not going to be happy basically.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm going to have to look back at, what it is that is not working here, whether it's my cover, whether I need to reevaluate my ads and give it another go. Or sometimes these books can just be ones that flop, like they're just sometimes I'll have a book that either does really well, it will do okay, or it will flop. You know what I mean? And sometimes that happens as well for me.
So what is your philosophy on that when, like most people who would listen to this, if they're just getting started with KDP, right? They don't understand the KDP business model, the longevity of these books. So they hear something like this and they're like, that sounds very expensive. First off, investing so much money into advertising. And then also it sounds like it's a long it's a long time to profit, like, months, right? How do you like what are your thoughts on that? And like, what do you think compared to other business models out there?
KDP is definitely the best online business you can find and one of the cheaper ones that you can find in terms of what you get back. Like this business is so passive. So, once you invest the money, once you put in the time and, you set your book up in the right position, you can kind of sit back. You don't really need to do much. You don't need to worry about customer service, storage, shipping, all these types of things. So, I wouldn't be thinking too negatively about the business in terms of that. But in terms of, books doing well, some not doing well, that's just the nature of business. And that's why I would recommend any beginner to at least publish 5 books before they do anything. You know what I mean? Because one of them's probably going to do really good, two are going to do okay, and two are going to suck. Like that might happen. So if you just put one out there or two out there, they might just be the books that don't do that well. You know what I mean? And obviously, the more books you publish, the better each one's going to get, the better you're going to get at the business. And you obviously you're going to be better for it over time. And then in terms of ads, if you can't invest money, you're not going to make money. You have to really destroy that limiting belief and think about the long term of how it's going to be beneficial for the future.
Yeah. Plus, like, if it doesn't, like, if ads aren't profitable, you just tone it down. Now you can optimize for profitability instead of ranking. And, you can make your money back slowly there, or you can just pause it and it's still going to sell something, right? Like, you probably have some
100%.
experience of books that you just forgot about and it kept making money for years and years and years.
Yeah.
So the goal really is like do whatever you can to rank the book, because once it ranks, like you have something solid that's going to pay you for a long time, most of the case, right? We just cannot guarantee anything, but that's usually the case.
Yeah. And then one thing I'll add as well is like the strategy for me is a little bit different because I've been in this game for a long time. I'm probably going for keywords that beginners wouldn't or shouldn't go for, mainly because they're very competitive. They're big, they're big ones now. Because I have a brand behind me and I know what I'm doing, like, and I have the money to invest, I'm going for these keywords that I'm competing with that have a lot of reviews. However, if you're starting out, you're not going to have to go as crazy with the ads and investments because the strategy that you teach inside the program for keyword research, it tries to do its best in order to find something lower competition but still profitable. As long as you tick off those 2 boxes, it's not that hard to make money.
Yeah. What's your thought process on that? So you're going into a keyword where the competition got, like, let's say 1,000 reviews, right? How would you aim to like stand out and compete with them?
The cover is the most important thing, of course. And then depending on how much of the thing that they have in their book, for example, let's just say it's a recipe book, right? And my competitor has 100 recipes. Well, I want to beat him. So I want to have 150 or 200, things like that I would do. In one of my books, in terms of where, it was a very big shark of a keyword, I put video tutorials inside the book and linked it just for YouTube. So I found someone on Upwork to do video tutorials of what it was inside my book, and no other competitor was doing that. So with me putting that sticker on the cover saying videos included, that's going to help as well.
Yeah, that's intense, man. Like, actually hiring somebody to make video tutorials or essentially courses to just have better value than your competitors is pretty hardcore. I've never done it myself. I've tried to like stand out and have better value in other ways, like simply having more recipes and those kind of things. Usually for me, I either try to do like more value straight up, so like offering the same thing but more value, or having a unique angle. Like you get the same results, but my approach is different kind of thing.
Yeah.
But video course is hardcore.
I mean, that only works for certain types of books, right? But usually in the middle to low content, it can work quite well. Um, but maybe I wouldn't do it unless you know for a fact that, that niche is good. You know what I mean?
For sure. So basically, like reviews aren't as important as people think, right? It's more so like the packaging, the book cover, being more attractive, or if you can actually portray that you have a better value, in the title or the description, A plus content, or even on the cover with the badge or whatever, than your competition, then even though you have much less reviews, people will still give you a chance, right?
Yeah, I think so, man. I mean, it's going to be hard if you're going for the bigger keywords. It's going to be hard to compete with 500,000 reviews, things like that. But, you can win on everything else outside of the reviews. And on top of that, I think another pro is, if you buy a book that was written 10 years ago, but then there's a new book, technically it could be better. It should be better. It's newer. You know what I mean?
Mm.
There should be more recent info in there or better strategies or whatever the book is. So I think that's one place where you win against older books.
Yeah, that's true. Depending on the
And a lot of
topic.
older books, a lot of older books covers suck if they're
Yeah,
just these guys that have left them on there. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure. 100% agree. The covers aren't really the best most of the time. So like just from having a good cover, you can stand out. And that's why like you don't want to cheap out all these people, making book covers on Canva, which is I think is a great way if you really don't have the money and you want to start making like $5, $10, like get your feet wet. Then yeah, do it. But you want to start reinvesting that into like take that $10 that you made from that book that you made yourself on Canva. Then for the next book, spend $10 on Fiverr for a book cover designer, right? And then you make a little more money and maybe that makes $50. Then you take the $50, hire somebody and then make a better book and you're just slowly rolling it back into the business. And I think eventually you want to start outsourcing more things, at least that's how I see it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And one thing I'll add as well in terms of the covers, like um, if you're building a brand, I think what I did, and I think it's a pretty good strategy to use, get one of the covers in, your first cover or whatever it is in terms of the brand you have, get one of those covers made by someone on 99 Designs and do a competition for it and get the best possible cover you possibly can for that one book inside your brand. And then I would create something that's replicatable through theme. So inside your brand, you want your books to look similar. You want them to have the same theme because across the board, people know that it's your brand, right? So if you pay a lot of money on that first book to get created in terms of the cover, and it's this really good cover, and you have a theme that's replicatable, what you can do is just grab that cover you spent a lot of money on, show it to someone cheaper on Fiverr, get them to create the second book, the third book, the fourth book that you have, and just tell them to follow something similar to that theme. And then that's cheaper after that.
That's super smart. I never thought about that, but you're right. It's cheaper than just hiring the same person to like keep making the same kind of design because the design is already made. So like other
Yeah.
designers can replicate it, huh?
Yeah.
Nice, man. Those are some good tips. Do you have any other tips that you want to cover since we're talking about these things?
Um,
I think
oh,
we, yeah,
I have a tip on BookBeam in terms of keyword research, especially for Q4. If you're planning to create some books for Q4, you shouldn't be looking at the rankings of what these books are that you're looking at now in terms of what their rankings are now. There's a lot of books on Amazon that are sitting at only 100,000 to 200,000, 300,000 ranking, which isn't that good, but they go nuts during December. So with BookBeam, you can look at the history and check what it was doing in December. And that's what I would do if you're trying to like create some books around Q4 and some low content books. Start even if because if you're looking in July, August, which you should be doing in terms of creating books for Q4, you want to be ahead of the curve and have them ready and launched before November, October. These books are probably not going to be ranked that well, right? In that time, July, August, So double checking the book being history marker from December the previous year is one way how I've been able to find some pretty good books.
yeah, that's a good point that a lot of people miss, I think. So like these books that do well in Q4, they're usually slower in the summer months. But summer months is when you start producing these books and people see the BSR is way higher and they're like, oh, it's not profitable. But instead they should be looking at the historical sales, especially what they make during December, right?
Yeah, it's the same as like health and fitness books. Maybe there's, these are trends. So obviously they're not evergreen books. I would usually focus more on evergreen niches. But if you want to do some side projects and start focusing on some trends, well, in the health and fitness area, like you might want to check the rankings in January for these types of books. Because if they're doing, really crazy rankings that are like 10K or 5K BSRs during January, it's going to be so much money that you make just in January and it will actually be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's I think we covered a lot of good tips. So thanks for that. And we can transition to some other question that I have in the list here. But uh one thing I want to ask you personally is like, you've been in my course for a while, the Road to Hero program, right? You can
Mhm.
be honest here, but like did the course help you at all? If so, like what was your favorite part of it? What do you think is like the best part of it? If it didn't help, you can say honestly as well, but just curious your thoughts.
Well, man, I've been in this game since 2016, and I've been through maybe 4 or 5 courses. Um, and yeah, I think yours was one of the last ones I bought. Um, it definitely helped me. Obviously, I knew 95% of things already, so it wouldn't have helped me as much as a beginner, of course. However, I like how you went deeper inside the course. You even ran over automation, which was able to help me a lot. I've just automated most of my business outside of ads now. So that was very beneficial to me. And then I also think that you have an interesting approach when it comes to, launch strategy, keyword research. I think you basically cover everything you need to know. Um, anyone needs to know, whether advanced or beginner, inside the course.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you like the automation because like I was making it knowing that most people will never get to that part of the course or the business in
Mm.
general. So I'm like, how many people would actually benefit from this? But I do think it's a pretty good lesson, one of my favorites. Um, the keyword research thing too, I think I have like the most accurate way of doing keyword research in my mind. And a lot of people copied it since then, but I think yeah, it's pretty confident about those two modules basically.
Yeah, man. It's a solid course for sure.
Thanks, bro. So do you have, I mean, we kind of covered this already, but do you have any like advice for those who are just getting started? We kind of covered this already, yeah.
I
Uh,
think
yeah.
like yeah, like the 5 books thing is the main thing, and then just delayed gratification, you know, be like stop thinking about where you want to be and your long-term goals, figure out the short ones in between that and how you're going to get there. And have a goal of like, I'm gonna do 5 books. I don't care how good the first, the second, the third, or the fourth do. I'm gonna do 5.
Yeah. So you would go off of like 5 books more than like 1 year into the business, or do you think both is important?
What do you mean?
Well, like, I always say that you want to go all in KDP or any business in general if you start something new for at least a year, right? But for you, you're saying 5 books. So like that's kind of your version of it. But I'm
Yeah,
just curious, like, because 5 books, you can spam low content books, like 5 low content books in 5 minutes, if you
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess it depends how you take it, man. Obviously, the longer the better. Eventually, you're going to succeed in this business. Like, guaranteed, you are eventually going to do it, whether that means it was your 20th book. So obviously, the more the better. I just say 5 just because it's a number in my head. But ideally, maybe if you wanted to do it this way, you could, depending on your budget, do 1 long form, do 2 medium content, and do 2 low content. And, that way you get a taste of each one and hopefully one of them does well and you reevaluate from there and you just keep going.
Yeah, for sure. You got to focus on like 5 actually good book, good research, good produced, good marketed. And then like if those flops, you're obviously doing something wrong because it should do well, like at least one of them, and you can kind of build upon that. So I do agree there.
Yeah.
What is
And one
your
thing I would probably say is maybe as a beginner, I know it sucks, but I would probably do 1 at a time. So you learn from your mistakes. Because if you do two at a time or three at a time, you're probably going to make the exact same mistake as you did on all three. You waste all that money. So as much as it sucks, you have to take the long-term game, reevaluate the first book through your course or with a coach, and learn from your mistakes and learn why it didn't do well if it didn't do well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. So what's your goal in terms of like, your publishing business? Are you building to sell? Are you just building for the cash flow and you're gonna keep going? Um, Tell us about that.
So yeah, like I'm actually building to sell. I was honestly thinking about selling at the start of next year. Um, However, since I've automated the business and I'm not doing much, I'm starting to maybe think that I might not sell and just keep it in the background because I have a lot of it automated now to the point where I don't have to work that much outside of just maintaining the ads. Um, so I still don't have the answer of that question yet. However, no matter what, as long as this is fully automated, I have the ability to be able to make whatever decision I want to make at the time, right? And it's going to be in a better position to sell anyway if it's fully automated.
Yeah, because you're basically making like are you doing like around 100K a year?
Um, yeah, I would say so, man. But as I said before, my investments are very high.
Right.
And then,
So like
I'm spending 300 a month on the YouTube creator. I'm spending 300 a month on my virtual assistant that helps me. Um, and I'm getting help with five of my books through an ad service at the moment. So things do add up and they're not as good as what it would be if I just kind of left it and stuck with just my assistant. Um,
yeah.
but
I think
yeah,
you got a lot of optional expenses that you're like intentionally putting it back into the business, to grow it, but you don't need those to maintain what you're doing.
no,
Besides like the ad person, because ads you need, right? But everything else, like you can stop producing those books. You can stop trying to do YouTube, right? Because right now, like
yeah,
YouTube's a future plan. It's not really producing much results.
yeah,
Uh,
man.
yeah. So how much time are you spending on your business? I'm curious.
Right now, man, probably like 4 to 5 hours a week.
Damn. What do you do with the rest of the chilling?
Um, so I'm actually building my personal brand at the moment, man. So I'm doing a YouTube video a day, and I'm helping, young men with, escaping the 9 to 5 and, obviously just everything around self-development and whatnot and travel, specifically Latin America. So that's my passion, man. I'm now focusing on that. So that's taking up quite a bit of time, building the Twitter as well along with that. Um, Learning Spanish took a lot of time, which was, something that, I was putting, you know, probably an hour or two a day into, man, at the time.
Um,
So that took up a bit. Um, and yeah, man, just focusing on myself and enjoying life.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. I watch your YouTube videos after you told me about it, and I actually like it. It's good videos, that it's no edits. I like it that way. It's just like basically your thoughts and experiences. Um, so yeah, I'll leave a link to the YouTube channel for those who want to check it out below this video. Are
Thanks,
you gonna
man.
niche down into like just one? Because you do like travel, you do live in Latin America, you do like personal self-help topics and stuff. Are you going to continue covering those or do you have plans in like just doing
Yeah,
those?
I don't really have a specific plan right now, man. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall and I'll see where it goes. Um, but yeah, I don't want to get, too specific yet. I'm happy to just build up, my confidence on camera and get better at creating good videos. As long as I'm helping the guys out there that are watching my content, I don't mind. And then yeah, eventually I'll reevaluate whatever the audience wants. I'll probably niche down towards.
Yeah.
But overall, man, like I have to be able to enjoy it and be talking about things that I actually want to talk about. So that's another thing. Like for sure, I'm not making an Amazon KDP course. I just don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah, YouTube is a tough business, I think. Obviously I do it because it's working well for me. I think I got lucky starting really early. You know, if I would start now, it's a lot more competitive, at least in the KDP space, right? And it's like the production value is really high. I'm glad that I had years to like build towards it. But
Yeah.
it's a rewarding business. But it's always gonna be it's different to KDP because KDP you publish a book, rank it, and it's like semi-automated. You check on the ads once in a while. But with YouTube, no matter how many videos you publish, they're always gonna die eventually, and
Yeah.
people want new content, right? So you're always gonna be on the content treadmill. So it's essentially a high-paying job, if you can make it work. And it's never gonna be not a job, I think, in my opinion. But if you're okay with it, it's a very rewarding, high-paying job, especially
Yeah.
if you like helping people, making videos, talking. For me, it helped so much in my communication skills because like English is my second language. And for a very, very long time, even in my adult life, like I couldn't say what I wanted to say. It always gets stuck. Like it's here in my head, but it doesn't come out of my mouth, right? But doing YouTube helped so much with that. So I think those are the best
Yeah, man.
parts.
It's a lot of work, and that's the main reason why make sure that I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing and what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. How's life now that you got a successful KDP business? You're doing this full time essentially, right? Like KDP is paying for your lifestyle,
Yeah.
and you're traveling the world. It's funny because like everyone I interview on the series, they're nomads. Like they don't live in their country. It's
Yeah.
either Asia or Latin America. Um, yeah, how is it for you? Also curious why you chose Latin America over Asia.
Um, yeah, so it's great, man. I mean, it's literally all I ever wanted, especially when I was a teenager. Nothing cooler than being able to have the ability to make money online and escape the 9 to 5 and just literally go wherever I want. Um, so having that freedom is crazy in general. Super grateful for that. Um, Obviously, Asia and Latin America are cheaper to live, and so your lifestyle is increased by a long way. So they're the two main reasons why people go to these countries. But not only that, they're very nice places to live and go to, whether it's a holiday or to base. I love Asia, but I prefer Latin America. I just think it's a bit more fun, a little bit more growth involved. You got to learn the language, and whatnot. But yeah, in terms of why I went, I left during COVID to Mexico, thinking I was just gonna go there for 3 months or so before things got better, and I fell in love and decided to stay.
Yeah. You started in Mexico and you pretty much checked out all the other like main Latin American countries.
A few, yeah, I've been to a few now. And now I'm mainly based up in Paraguay, which no one really knows about, but it's a really nice place. So yeah, this is my home now.
Yeah. Sounds like a nice place. I will go check it out too,
Yeah, man. I look forward to seeing you. It's good.
for sure. All right, man. Well, I think that was a pretty good interview. We covered a lot of tips. Is there anything else you want to cover before we end this?
Um, nah, nothing else. I think I covered everything I wanted to say. Um, you know, that's it, man, pretty much.
All right, sounds good. Well, it was good talking to you. And for those who are watching, I'll leave a link to Brock's YouTube channel in the description, as well as all the links and tools and resources that I recommend. So yeah, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next video.